Hello, hello, beautiful souls, and welcome to another episode of the Worthiness Codes. I'm your host, Jaclyn Francis, and as always, it is so beautiful to be in this space with you today. We have a beautiful episode ahead of us, talking about how to move through fear. And I feel like this is something everyone experiences. Fear is a part of our human experience, but it doesn't have to control you. So today I want to share some of my own experiences with fear and how I overcame it to get to the other side. And I'll also share a quick little technique that you can use to move through fear whenever it comes up, because it's coming up and we're seeing it more and more in our outer reality, especially with the election that's happening. We're going to continue to be presented with fear-based narratives. So I think it's really important to understand what this is and how you can release it. But before we jump in, I feel like I just have to bring up Love Island because I don't know if you guys watch it. I feel like everyone has watched the USA season. I was hooked. Literally every single day I was tuning in and watching it. And the fact that it's over, I don't know what to do with myself. But I heard they're having a reunion and I'm so excited about it. But I was listening to the Call Her Daddy episode with Rob last night. I didn't finish it because, in all honesty, it was so boring. But I wanted to take a moment to just reflect on it because I think it's really important the way Rob showed up. You can like him, you can hate him, whatever you think, put that aside for a second. He showed up as what I think was his authentic self. In all honesty, I don't think he knows who he is yet, but he was doing the best that he could with who he is in this moment in time. And I think it's really important as women that we always take a moment to honor the masculine when they are self-aware of their feelings, of their emotions, of how they've treated others in the past, especially women. I think he did a really good job from what I saw. I didn't finish it. I think he did a really good job taking accountability for his actions and how he could have better handled situations, not just on the show, but in the past. And I think for men, that is essentially the breaking point of moving into their healthy masculine, is when they become aware of their wrongdoings, but also honoring their emotions, knowing that they felt something, they could have handled their emotions a certain way, they could have handled them better, but they did the best that they could. So again, I think he did a really good job. I wasn't a huge fan of his on the show. I didn't dislike him. I didn't love him. But I was definitely a Miguel fan. I think he is a masculine, manly man, especially with that love letter he wrote to Leah. But Rob did a good job on Call Her Daddy. Again, just taking note and honoring, because I think it helps just overall raise the consciousness of the masculine when, as women, we can honor a man for sharing their emotions, sharing their journey, and being self-aware of how they can be better moving forward. So he has a lot of work to do, but I think it's a beautiful start for him, and he will definitely learn a lot from watching back the season, or at least I hope he will, because I think he can really allow himself to step into a healthy masculine, and we need more of those. So anyway, enough of that. I hope you are all doing so beautifully and enjoying this amazing summer that we have. And let's dive into today's episode. So again, I want to talk about how to move through fear. So fear is not going anywhere. It's a part of the human experience because it is rooted in the ego. Our egos aren't going anywhere because our egos are a part of our human consciousness, a part of our mind, again, a part of this human experience. So, though we oftentimes have an ego death on the spiritual journey, or we have many ego deaths, I've had so many ego deaths, I can't count them. The ego is still here, it's still a part of who I am. So it's all about integrating our ego, acknowledging our ego and the aspects of ego when they arise, sitting with those aspects of ego and integrating them to part of our experience. So fear is an aspect of our ego. And oftentimes, fear will arise when we're about to transition into a higher version of self, or we're about to up level, is another way to look at it. Because the ego is here to keep us safe. I know I have shared this and I have said this so many times, but I think it's something that it's so important to understand on this journey, because fear will come up again and again and again, and fear can knock you out of doing what your soul is asking you to do because you're scared. And the last thing I want for you guys to do is be so afraid of something that is so divinely meant for you that you don't follow that calling. So I want to share just a few examples of fear that I've experienced recently. We can go back looking at my last relationship and leaving that, since I know everyone has felt like they are meant to leave a relationship, whether you have or the universe knocked you out of the relationship because you weren't taking the steps to do it. But the fear I experienced with leaving that relationship was so real. And that fear showed up as, this voice inside my head telling me, how are you going to do this at 32 years old? How are you going to leave your home? How are you going to support yourself financially? You want to start having babies soon. Like, how are you going to do this if, you're single? Who knows how long you'll be single for? All of these narratives that do not support me started coming to surface, right? So if you're going through a breakup, or if you're in a relationship where you're really wanting to leave, take a moment to just sit with what that fear looks like for you. Another way fear has come up for me was before I left my career. And it showed up so strongly through money, and the narrative around money, the narrative around scarcity, and really showing me where my wounding was around money. That if I left a job, I wouldn't be able to support myself. Where am I going to get money from? How are you going to create a business? How are you going to make money on your own without a 9-to-5 job? How are you going to afford health insurance and all this shit that doesn't matter? It's all a part of the programming. Again, it's all a part of the narrative that does not support me, right? And then another example most recently was when I went to Bali. It was so wild. Right when I booked my ticket, I literally had a panic attack. I remember walking in circles around my bedroom with so much anxiety, not really understanding what the fear was. And when I got to Bali, the fear just amplified, and it was showing me, how am I going to be away from my home for a month? How am I going to be, without my sister who lives down the street? How am I going to be able to afford traveling for a month? All of these narratives rooted in fear would come to the surface to keep me, each time that I was confronted in fear in all of these different examples, to keep me from up leveling into a new version of self. So it's always going to be present. Fear is always going to be present. It's going to show up. It can show up as limiting beliefs, right? If you're about to start a business, limiting beliefs will come to surface. And again, that's all rooted in fear. So I want you to just take a moment and see where fear is showing up for you in your life. Is there a specific area, or is fear showing up more as an emotion? Are you currently suffering from anxiety, from depression, from overthinking, overanalyzing? Take a moment and allow yourself to become aware of how fear is presenting itself to you. And if you're in a beautiful place right now and you don't have any fear, amazing. Still tune in, because I'm going to teach you a really quick way to move through fear when it does arise. because it will. And a lot of people walk around this earth not holding self-awareness, not being self-aware, which is so scary, so scary. So a lot of the time you might be experiencing fear and have no idea. I see it all the time from my parents, my grandparents, other people's grandparents. Like, it's just the older generation that sits and watches the news and they live in fear and they don't even know that that's what it is because they're so conditioned to that programming of fear. So this is an invitation to start becoming aware of the fear. Start becoming aware of how it's presenting itself to you. And fear will typically present itself to you through those emotional feelings. It will bubble up to the surface, and it will bubble up as discomfort, as anxiety, as panic, as depression, right? You'll have these physical, emotional sensations that are surfacing in your body. So once that starts to happen, I want you to then become aware of what that emotion is and become aware that that emotion is most likely tied to fear of some sort, right? I think fear is a very deep aspect. There's many layers to fear, but typically when things are bubbling up to the surface, it's rooted in fear. So literally allow yourself to feel it and to sit with it. That's the first thing, right? After you become aware of it, I want you to actually sit. Sit on a meditation pillow, sit in your bed, lying down, on the beach, on the grass, wherever you feel safe. Sit with it and feel those emotions. We all have different ways of moving through things. There's no right, there's no wrong. One is not better than the other. I feel everything. And when I am moving through something, I am sitting with myself, I'm allowing myself to feel, and I will talk out loud through what is coming up. Just talking. How am I feeling? Why am I feeling this way? And really just walking myself through the emotions. If talking doesn't resonate with you, then journal. Writing things down, especially if you're just in a state of flow, writing things down will allow you to really become aware of what you're feeling and where it's stemming from and why you're feeling the way you feel and why the fear is there. So once you recognize through talking out loud, through feeling it, through journaling, once you recognize where this fear is stemming from, allow yourself, give yourself permission here to see what is on the other side of that fear. Because like I said, fear arises, typically, not always, before a big up level, before you are moving into a higher version of self, into an up-leveled aspect of your life, right? So when you leave a relationship, you're leaving. What's on the other side of that relationship is oftentimes going to be a better relationship if you allow yourself to step into a better relationship and not repeat a pattern. When you leave a job, oftentimes what's on the other side of quitting that job is a dream job, a dream position, a new business, right? Again, if you allow yourself to get there and not continue programming. So sit with the emotion and allow yourself to see what is on the other side of it. This is the envisioning process. This is where manifestation starts. And it starts here because everything is energy, right? So when you're allowing yourself to envision into what's on the other side, I want you to begin envisioning solely with the feelings, with the emotions, because you are creating through energy. And when you allow yourself to sit with emotions that are completely the opposite of fear, so sitting with joy, excitement, abundance, love, anything that's on the other side of that fear that brings up certain emotions, sitting with it and amplifying it within you heightens your energy, heightens your frequency. So it allows you to physically change the way that fear is manifesting in your body. This is where you begin to be an alchemist. This is transmuting energy, right? So you were feeling fear, and now you're moving through it by allowing yourself to feel that fear, to allow yourself now to understand and feel what can be on the other side of that fear. So you're taking the energy of fear and you're transmuting it through an alchemization process into abundance, into joy, into love, into the energies that arise for you through what you envision to be on the other side. So because everything is energy, this is the core. This is the core of creation. This is where you always create from, is the energetics, is the feeling, is the emotion. So when you're in this state, I want you to now visualize. So visualize what is on the other side of that. You started with, okay, what's on the other side is going to bring me excitement, joy, abundance, etc., etc. Now let's see what that looks like, right? If it's a dream job, allow yourself to envision what a dream job is. How does it make you feel every single day? What does it look like? How is it changing your schedule? How is it changing your happiness? How is it changing your time and your energy? Allow yourself to just visualize whatever comes to surface without force. Allow that to come through. Now, this is the work through the vertical plane. This is the work in the spiritual realm. This is the creation with your higher self, with the universe. It is here where you're sending those frequencies into the universe. And then it's in the horizontal plane where you take aligned action to fulfill that vision. Right? So once you visualize, you sent that manifestation, you sent what it is on the other side of that fear into the universe. And a side note, you're feeling all of these things, you're visualizing all that you're visualizing because it already exists. The fear is coming up because that version of self, those things that you desire already exist. So the fear is there to keep you limited, to keep you small, to keep you comfortable, to keep you from stepping into something that is new and unfamiliar. Because the human hates the unfamiliar. Okay, so now at this point, once you visualized and once you felt the energies on what's on the other side of that fear, this is when you typically have moved through that fear, right? And to be completely transparent, many times that fear is not just going to go away with one time sitting with it. It may continue to come up depending on how deeply rooted the fear is based on what it is that it's tied to. So every time it arises, just allow yourself to sit, allow yourself to move through it just like you did this first time. But what's really going to help you move through it is the embodiment, right? So it's the work that's being done on the horizontal plane, like I just said. So taking the aligned action to fulfill that vision. So if the fear is based on leaving the relationship or leaving the career, what is the aligned action? The aligned action is going to be actually stepping away from said relationship, from your career, or it's going to be taking the necessary steps so you can do that, creating a savings account that will support you for the next 6 months to a year. Maybe, I don't know what your relationship might look like, but maybe you have to start saving if you were supported by your partner, or maybe you need to practice a little bit more self-love to really allow yourself to know that you are worthy and you're going to be okay for being on your own. So whatever aligned action is tied to what is on the other side, you're going to start doing it. For me, I just left. I left the relationship when I knew I had to, and I left the job when I knew I had to. Money, I will say this, money has been so supportive for me through savings, through my savings account, my investment portfolios. I am in awe every single day of how it's been a year without making income, and I'm still abundant with money. So I am grateful for that. But most of the time you can't just walk away from a job, right? You have to prepare yourself. But I like to say my higher self has been preparing me to step away from this job for many years because my savings was able to support me up until now, which is beautiful. Okay. I just want to see if there's anything else I want to share. Yes. So the reason as to why the aligned action is important, the reason as to why allowing yourself to feel all of the things is because on the other side of that fear, right, is growth. And through growth, you are able to receive manifestations because you are raising your frequency, you are releasing what is not serving you, you are creating the space to allow the things that your soul truly desires, to allow the things that are divinely meant for you to come through. So that's why it's important. So many times, and I'm just looking back at past versions of Jaclyn when before I was self-aware of when fear would come up and I would ignore it. And this is when I suffered from anxiety. This is when I overanalyzed everything. I overthought everything because I didn't trust myself. I didn't trust myself, which didn't allow me to trust in the universe, which is wild because I'm in a completely different place now. And it's so beautiful to like look back on that version of self and be like, damn, girl, I don't know how you got through life in that way because it's so different than how I move through life now. But that's growth. That's growth. So when you aren't aware of fear, you're living life in a state of constant anxiety, in a state where your nervous system is so out of whack, so off balance, where you're over analyzing every single thing and you don't trust yourself. When you will begin to trust yourself, that is truly when you start to embody your power. To trust yourself is the most empowering thing you can do, especially as a woman. The most empowering thing you can do because we innately have a strong intuition, but our intuition gets dimmed most of the time because we just aren't connected to it because of programming, because of trauma, because of society, because of other people, because all of the things. It's no one's fault. That's just the way of life. The whole journey of life is to get us back into a state of remembrance, into a state of just knowing who you are, remembering who you are, knowing your power, knowing your worth, living through unconditional love. It's a whole journey of remembering and getting back to the core of you. That's all it is. So when you are moving through something, and again, like this is going to be different for everyone because time isn't linear either. So like you can be feeling the need to leave a relationship way before you become aware of it. And a lot of the time it happens through the body where you're just like icked out from your partner and like you can't touch him. You don't want him touching you. You can't sleep next to him. Like your body will feel it first. So just understanding all of these emotions and all of these feelings and how your higher self and your body and your intuition speaks to you in different ways before your mind becomes aware of it is so important because that's where the self-awareness expands. That's what's going to allow you to be like, okay, I'm feeling this for a reason. And as soon as you become aware of what you're feeling, then that's when the fear is going to come in. So now you're aware of what you're feeling, right? Then when the fear comes in, you're aware of what the root cause of the fear is. So now you can actually sit with it because you're like, okay, I feel fear and it's showing up as anxiety because I know that I'm aware that I don't think I want to be with my partner anymore. So let me sit with this. Let me move through it. Let me transmute it into what I know is on the other side of it. And what is on the other side of it is here to serve me. So let me take the aligned action that's needed to get there. And I know it will be a bumpy journey. I know it will be scary because it's the unknown. It's new. It's unfamiliar. But I'm in a place of power because I trust myself and I know I'm supported by the universe because I trust her as well. So I am golden. I have nothing to worry about. Let's do this damn thing. And eventually you'll get to that place. And with everything that comes into your life, you're in control. You're in your self-mastery. You are not giving power away to someone else, to some feeling, to fear, because fear will keep you so comfortable. It will keep you so comfortable, and it will be the number one thing that holds you back from stepping into your most powerful self. It will be the number one thing that holds you back from doing the thing you always want to do. So don't allow fear to control you. You control fear because you are aware of it. And when you're aware of it, you have the power to transmute it. Because all it is an energy. Emotions are just energy. Take one emotion that doesn't serve you, transmute it, change it into something that does. And of course, it's not as simple as it sounds because fear can be really scary. And if you're not used to doing this type of work, it can be scary to be in the unknown, and it can just be really scary to feel your feelings. I love to feel my feelings. I'm a Scorpio moon, so like I have to feel my feelings. And it's so funny because when people are like, I don't like to feel my feelings, I'm like, what? What do you mean? Like, I love to feel all the things. But for a lot of people hate to feel their emotions, which is okay. But once you allow yourself to feel the scary emotions, you get familiar with the scary emotions and you just understand that it's just energy and it doesn't have to control you. Like you literally have the power to control it. So let yourself feel it. It can be fun. It can be really fun to watch yourself transmute an energy, but I don't want to diminish that it can be scary. So if you need support, always ask for support. That's what healers are for. Healers are here to literally hold space, to create the space for you to feel those scary things, those traumas, those fears, all those emotions, all those feelings. Healers are here to create the space for you to do it. Healers don't heal you, right? I'm a healer, but I don't heal anyone. I open up the space. I hold an energetic frequency that you, as the person who's sitting with me, can match. And it's through that container, through that energy, through that space where you allow yourself to open, to receive, to move through, to heal. That's all it is. So if you need support, never hesitate to ask for it. That's a beautiful time to sit with the healers when you really need help. Like I said, I'm a healer, but I see other healers when I can't do the work on my own. When I need help, I'll call a healer and say, hey, I need help moving through this. Can you hold space for me? And they hold space and we move through it and it's beautiful. So ask for support. As always, I'm here to help as well, but you hold the power. Always, always, always. Don't ever allow yourself to think otherwise. You are in charge of your life. You are in charge of yourself. And when you give yourself permission to step into that power, you will change everything. Everything. And I am excited for you to get to that point, get to that place. So I think that's it. Just want to take a breath, especially if you're feeling a little angst after this. Just closing your eyes and just taking a breath in and letting it go. Exhale. Breathing is beautiful to move through fear, anxiety, all of the things. Let yourself breathe. Deep breaths to move through it. When you're sitting in ceremony and going through those steps that I gave you, always breathe. Take a moment to breathe through it. It will drop you in deeper to what you're feeling, and it will help you energetically and physically move through it as well. Okay, my loves, I hope that was helpful. And just know that you will get through it. And what's on the other side of this fear is something more beautiful than you could ever even imagine to be possible. So give yourself permission to accept the invitation that fear is presenting to you for your next up level. I love you. I love you. I love you. Until next time. Bye.